Hi everybody, Emily Chamel here for my first project for Teresa Collins design team. And Teresa challenged us this week to use her cut files, but mainly to use her cut files without using an electronic cutting machine. So some cut files, I've cut them with my cutting machine, which are the smaller one that you see there. But to respond to the challenge that she gave us, I printed some of the cut files. So some of the cut files, well, all of the cut files come in SVG, but they also come as PNG, pink, and they also come as JPEGs. And I used the PNG's version to print. So what I did is I used Photoshop and I inverted the colors. So the cut files came on Photoshop, you see them as black, and I knew I wanted to have what you see in white right now. I know I wanted it to be in white. I didn't want it in full black, simply because I wanted to have white on my cards, but also because I didn't want to use a lot of ink printing in black. So what I did is I inverted it and I changed the background to a kind of pink coral kind of color, and that allowed me to use it. To explain is that once I cut it out with my craft knife, I know there's always going to be the tiny midges of line that's left, and that can be visible. But because I wanted to back my card with some some coloured cardstock, I knew I wanted to use that kind of shade of pink and coral. So by printing what you're going to cut out already in a colour you're going to use, it means that it hides any layer bit of colour on the edges that might be left over. So that is a great tip if you don't have a cutting machine and you're going to cut everything with a craft knife. So print it in a colour that you know you're going to back it behind. So let's say you were to use a pattern paper and the main colour on that pattern paper is blue, then you would print the image that's going to be cut out, you print it in that blue so that it is not as visible. If I had printed it in black, you would still see edges of black around it, but because I've printed it in the same color that I'm going to back it in, it just hides any kind of imperfection. So that's the first reason. So what I am doing is I'm going around very, very carefully. I've sped it up ever so slightly, but I've tried to keep it fairly real speed on that part of the video. So as you can see, I'm cutting it very, very carefully, making sure that I don't leave any excess color around my edges. I want to reproduce an image that's as close as possible to what my cutting machine would create. That is the challenge I gave myself. If you know my style, if you know me, you know that I'm always in for that challenge of creating a cut file effect onto my layout or onto my card without using an actual cutting machine, simply because it's noisy, and I create when Sophia's asleep, when she's napping, or in the evening when she's finally to bed for the night. And the problem with the cutting machine is I do not want to take the risk of waking her up, because then you go through the whole going to bed again routine, and it's just a waste of time for me to have to put her back to sleep, and it's disturbing her sleep. It's not great. So, and well, to be honest, I do like the challenge as well, and I do like the effect of having that fake effect, and I'm all for sometimes trying to save a little bit of money and being careful with how much material I use, or trying to find a little way to save up. I don't have a lot of money to spend on my crafting. I'm fortunate enough to be on several design team, mainly Teresa Collins design team. That was an absolute dream. And yeah, I try to be as careful with money as possible. And the cutting machine, at the end of the day, it's blades, it's mats, etc. And I do like the challenge of creating something that look like it but doesn't actually use it. And I think it's a great way as well for you. If you don't own a cutting machine, it's a great way for you to learn a few tips on how to create the effect without actually having the machine. So as you can see, I'm still cutting away, and I will see you again once it's all cut out. So now that my no excuse card is all cut out, I'm moving on to the home cut file. So this one, I've decided to use it as an image itself, so I'm not going to do any cutting onto it. I absolutely love how it printed out. There is no pixels showing. It's a very, very clean image, and I think it would be as well a great printable to decorate a house or anything like that. So that's a great tip if you were to get those cut files. For the price of them, they are definitely worth getting because they are so versatile. You'll see how I'm creating 2 cards with this one. You could use it for wall art, you could even use it on a scrapbook page. It's super versatile, so definitely value for money. So we're looking back onto the no excuses one. So I've been flicking between 2 of them just to try and save time, really. I am now backing it up, and as I mentioned before, I'm backing it up in a coral that's very similar to the color I printed before. I'm mounting it onto a double-sided sticky foam pad because I want to create that dimension between my white card and the colored cardstock that I've used to back it up with. Now that I've attached it onto the cardstock, I'm putting some double-sided sticky tape behind my cardstock so that I can attach my sentiment and the cardstock onto the main card I'm gonna have. So it really look like only the no excuse is peeking through. If it wasn't for the fact that I wanted to create that depth, I would have kept it just printed as I wouldn't have cut through. But I wanted to create that depth, and I also wanted to show you that it's completely possible to create a cut file effect without actually having that cutting machine. I am now completing the sentiment with some little alpha stamps that I've had for years and I use on every single one of our projects. And I attach it on a strip of cardstock to add a layer extra sentence. I thought it needed an extra layer bit. I've been trying to create really clean and simple cards for this project. It's not something that I do very often. I don't often do clean and simple. I'm tendency to do normally something a little bit grungy. And as you can see in a second, I just couldn't help myself. I had to go and add a little bit of doodling and a little bit of black. But my main reason for that is that because I've cut it by hand, it's not perfect. And it's something that jumps to my eyes very, very quickly. And the best way to distract the eye from any mistakes or any line that's not straight is to add that little bit of scribble, and like that the eye focuses more on a scribble than on the line that isn't fully straight. We are now back for the last time onto the house card that I've printed. So I'm mounting it onto a sticky foam. So it's sheets of sticky foam. You can find them double-sided sticky wise, but I got mine as just single-sided, so there's glue only on one of the side. I found them, they are acid free, so they're suitable for scrapbooking, and I found them in the children craft area. It's a great tip because it is so much cheaper than if you were to buy double-sided sticky foam pads like I used earlier on. If you need to mount a very, very large area of paper, that's a really great way. And all I do is add a little bit of double-sided sticky tape onto the side that isn't sticky, and it works perfectly. I saved some of the letters from the other cards, so the other cut file that I used, and those ones that I've cut with the cutting machine, and I painted them in with some gold, and it's just to spell new. And I thought it would be a perfect card to offer a friend or family members if they were to move into a new home. I also let my friends and my family help themselves in my card stash, so if somebody needed to give a new home card, that's perfect, it's ready and it's there for them to help themselves too. All I did is add a couple of Leo gold dots on both sides, and that was it. I was happy with this card, very, very clean and simple. Now we are moving on to the card that I've cut out with my electronic cutting machine, and I fast forwarded it a little bit more. It's a little bit sped up because you would be sat there for hours otherwise. What I'm doing is I'm reproducing the same system that I used with the no excuse card. I simply backed every single sentiment with some different colored cardstock. This one though, a great tip is I've saved all the XOXOXOs and I've glued them onto each other just a 3-layer thick, and I sanded it a little bit around the edges, and that way you can create your own layer chipboard. It's a great tip because it glues, well, it dries super strong, and it really gives the impression of chipboard. So in essence, with this cut file, I've created my own layer embellishment. So no extra money, no extra cost. And really, I was happy with that because it's the best way to decorate this card. Keeping it clean and simple. I colored it in by simply pressing those XOXOs on top of my VersaFine stamp pad, ink pad, and I carefully glued it onto my card, slightly off center, and then I added some finishing touch with a little bit of glossy accents that I've let dry on the side, so that it pops out a little bit more once it's dried and once it's ready. And there you go, really quick, really simple card, but super effective and super cute. I was then inspired by these number cut files. I was super inspired to create a birthday card because I love the idea that I could reuse the numbers afterwards. And I've decided to use this card. I thought of my stepdaughter, and I decided to use a hot pink because which 13-year-old or 14-year-old doesn't like hot pink? And the next birthday is she's gonna be 14, so I reused the 1 and the 4 that came out of this cut file, and I added glitter. So that's probably the worst thing I ever did. I love the effect of glitter, but I hate handling it. It just goes everywhere and it stays forever. So even my other half told me afterwards, do not come near me, when he learned that I use glitter on this. So what I do is I put PVA glue, 1 layer of glitter, then I add some glossy accents, and then I do a 2nd layer of glitter, and that really looked like strongly glittered almost chipboard. What I will do though is that I will save all of the other numbers that I have not used. I'm going to save them in a pouch so that in the future, if I need a double numbers, like for example, if I need to make a similar card for somebody who's turning 55, I already have a spare 5, so I can create that card. And that is a great tip. Or even if you were to create another card where you need those numbers are super cute. So it's a great way. Just keep those offcuts so you can use them for another card. I am moving on, so it's really fast. You'll see it's like being on a factory floor. Those cards are just coming out super quickly, and they are so cute and they're super efficient. You'll see at the end the final photos of them. They really look nice. I've then backed this love cut file, and I love this cut file. It's super cute, love it. And I backed it up with some red cardstock. And then same again, I saved some of the other letters from the cut file, and I spelled the U. I tried to color one of them in red, but I didn't like the effect. So I tried to reproduce the same effect, but then I decided to just use my Sharpie and color them in black again. And yeah, it just goes to show that even if you don't have any ink pads, if you don't have anything like that, all you need to create this card is a tiny bit of red cardstock, which, to be fair, if you have any plain colors paper, which you could find in a magazine, which you could find in a box of cereals or anything like that, as long as you've got white cardstock, you can create those cards for almost nothing. You could replace the foam pads to create volume. You could replace that with cardboard. Honestly, you could do that for super cheap. So yeah, it's a great tip. I'm then moving on to another home version, and I didn't want to spell new home again. I wanted to do something else, so I tried with our, and I thought, no, I'm not gonna like how where it's placed, and I really wanted to spell hello home, but I didn't have the L's. So what I did is I've cut one of the branch of the T's to create L's, and I've turned the T's into L's, and now I can spell hello. And I've colored it in with blue ink, I don't know, with blue ink, and I've added tiny little touch of, I'm checking that Sophia is still asleep there. I'm adding a little tiny touch of gold, just a little bit, just to add a little detail, but also it adds a bit of a reflection. You can still see it afterwards, but as soon as I've applied the gold, you will see I'm adding some glossy accent. Now, glossy accent is water-based, and the pens I've used to color it in blue is also water-based, and I did that on purpose because I knew it would all melt in and it would look super cool once it's all dry. And there you go. Here's the final cards. I told you they really look good. Once they're laid clean, you can see they're so cool. I really loved playing with those cut files. They were so inspiring. I still have loads of ideas in mind how to use them even more. I'm hoping to give you even more ideas on how to use them some more times. I know the other girls in the design team are working on them as well, and I hope you're going to be inspired to use them. So thank you very much for watching, and see you soon. Bye.